The market was alive with shadows and strange sounds. Alien voices hissed, sang, and laughed in a dozen languages. Neon signs blinked in colors no human eye should see. The air smelled of smoke, metal, and something sweet, like fruit left too long in the sun. A man walked carefully down the narrow path between stalls. He was human, out of place in this corner of the galaxy. Traders stared at him with suspicion, some with amusement, and a few with hunger in their eyes. But he kept moving, pretending not to notice. This was the black market of Vera Station. Here everything had a price: weapons, rare minerals, stolen tech, and sometimes even living beings. He had heard rumors, but seeing it with his own eyes made his stomach turn. Cages lined the darker alleys. Inside them were creatures from distant worlds. Some had scales, some had wings, some looked almost human, but their eyes glowed or their skin shimmered. They pressed their faces to the bars, watching him silently. The man tried not to look. He wasn't here for this. He only came to find spare parts for his ship. He needed a new engine coil, not whatever this was. But the deeper he went, the louder the auctioneer's voice became. Lot 17, rare specimen from the outer rim, strong, obedient, a perfect servant. The crowd roared with excitement. Credits flashed on digital slates. Numbers rose quickly. The man shook his head and turned away. He didn't want to be part of this madness. But as he moved, someone shoved him hard from behind. His hand slipped, and before he realized what happened, his slate lit up. His ID locked into the auction system. The crowd gasped. The auctioneer's eyes glowed with greed. New bid. Human buyer enters. Very rare. Very bold. The numbers jumped again. He panicked, trying to cancel, but the system refused. Once your slate was active, you were in until the lot closed. His heartbeat raced. He pressed every button he could, but nothing worked. And then, silence. The auctioneer slammed a clawed hand on the podium. Sold. Lot 17 goes to the human. The crowd erupted in cheers and whispers. Some laughed. Some shook their heads, muttering in their own tongues. A few looked at him with pity. The man froze. His throat felt dry. No, this is a mistake, he tried to say, but the auctioneer ignored him. Two guards dragged forward a heavy cage. Inside, sitting calmly, was not a beast or monster. It was a woman. At least she looked like one. Her skin was pale with a faint silver glow. Her hair, long and black, shimmered as if woven from shadows. Her eyes, bright, alien, impossible, locked onto his. They were not the eyes of a slave. They were the eyes of someone who had already chosen. The crowd fell quiet as the cage opened. She stepped out, slow and graceful, her movements smooth as liquid. Chains hung from her wrists, but she carried them like jewelry. She walked toward him, each step soft but echoing louder than the noise of the market. The guards pushed her forward, but she didn't resist. She didn't even look at them. Her gaze never left the man. He stepped back, shaking his head. Wait, I didn't mean, this isn't, but she was already in front of him. Her lips parted slightly. When she spoke, her voice was soft, broken, but every word carried weight. You bought me. His breath caught. No, I didn't. It was an accident. I don't want this. For a moment, silence hung heavy. Then she tilted her head, studying him like a puzzle. A strange smile touched her lips. You don't understand, she whispered. It is not you who owns me. Her hand touched his chest, right over his heart. The air between them shimmered, and for a second he felt a pull, like gravity bending. His vision blurred and a sharp coldness ran through his veins. The crowd gasped. Someone muttered, "The bond, he activated it." The man stumbled back, his mind spinning. What bond? What are you talking about? She moved closer, eyes glowing brighter now, her voice steadier, clearer. The contract is sealed. I belong to you. And you? She leaned in, her lips almost at his ear. You belong to me. Chills ran down his spine. The auctioneer grinned, showing sharp teeth. Congratulations, human. You have made a purchase beyond value. Or beyond curse. Time will tell. The crowd erupted again, this time with nervous laughter. Some backed away, as if afraid to be too close. Others whispered, "Fool, he doesn't know what she is." The man tried to speak, to shout, to protest, but no sound came. His throat felt tight, his body heavy. The woman, no, the alien, slid her hand down, wrapping her fingers around his. Her grip was warm, almost gentle but unbreakable. She looked into his eyes and the world seemed to fade. The noise, the lights, the smells, all gone. Only her voice remained. "Now," she said with a strange, dark certainty, "you are mine." And, in that moment, he knew his life had just changed forever. Not by choice, not by chance, but by something far older and far more dangerous than he could ever imagine. The station lights dimmed as the man left the market with her beside him. He walked fast, hoping to escape the stares and whispers. Yet no matter how quickly he moved, she stayed close. Too close. Her chains dragged lightly on the metal floor, but she didn't seem burdened. Her steps were silent, almost floating, as if she belonged in every shadow. The man's mind raced. He kept repeating the same thought. This was a mistake. This wasn't supposed to happen. But each time he tried to break free of her grip, her hand tightened on his, warm and firm, impossible to shake off. They reached the docking bay. His ship, a patched-up freighter, waited quietly in the corner. It wasn't much, but it was home. He pressed the unlock panel and the door slid open with a hiss. "Stay here," he muttered, hoping she would listen. But when he stepped inside, she followed without hesitation. The ship's old lights flickered as the airlock sealed. The hum of the engines echoed faintly like a heartbeat. He tossed his bag of spare parts onto the floor and turned to her. "You can't stay," he said firmly. "I don't want this, I don't want you." She tilted her head. Her glowing eyes studied him, calm but sharp, like she was measuring the weight of his words. Then, slowly, she sat down on the floor, cross-legged, her chains resting neatly on her knees. "I told you," she said softly. Her voice was still broken but clearer than before. "It is not a choice. The bond has been made." His stomach twisted. "Bond? I didn't agree to anything." Her eyes flashed, and for the first time her voice carried a strange echo. "Your blood agreed. Your breath agreed. The moment you touched me, the seal locked." He stepped back, unsettled. His chest still tingled where her hand had rested back at the market. He rubbed the spot nervously, as if he could wipe it away. "Listen," he said, his voice low, desperate. "I'm just a man. I'm not rich. I'm not powerful. I don't want trouble. Whoever you are, whatever you are, you should go." For a long moment she said nothing. Only her eyes moved, following him as he paced. Then, at last, she smiled. A small, strange smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. "You don't understand," she whispered. "You are safe with me. And I am safe with you. We cannot be apart now." The lights above them flickered suddenly. A panel sparked, then died. The ship's systems glitched for a moment, before returning to normal. He froze. Slowly, his eyes turned toward her. She hadn't moved, but something in the air had shifted. "What did you do?" he asked. Her gaze remained calm. "I did nothing. The ship feels me. It knows." He swallowed hard. No, it wasn't possible, he thought. His freighter was old, stubborn, half-broken. It didn't feel anything. And yet, the timing had been too perfect. She closed her eyes briefly, then opened them again. "Your vessel will not fail while I am here." Her words made his skin crawl. He didn't know if it was a promise or a threat. Hours passed. He tried to keep busy, running system checks, repairing a cracked panel, pretending everything was normal. But every time he glanced over his shoulder, she was there, watching silently, her eyes unblinking. Finally, hunger pushed him to the galley. He grabbed a ration pack, tore it open, and began to eat. She followed, sitting across from him at the table. He pushed another pack toward her. Here, eat. She looked at it, curious, then shook her head slowly. That food is for you. What do you eat then? He asked. Her lips curved in a strange, almost childlike smile. Not food. Not like you. She raised her hand, and for a moment, the faint silver glow of her skin shimmered brighter. The lights above dimmed again. He realized with a jolt, the energy around her wasn't just for show. She was pulling something in, something invisible like feeding on the ship itself. He set the ration down slowly. His stomach felt heavy now. His appetite gone. You're dangerous, he whispered. Her smile faded. I am not dangerous to you. But to everyone else? He pressed. She lowered her gaze, silent. That silence spoke louder than words. The man leaned back, rubbing his forehead. He was trapped with her. He couldn't just throw her out. Something told him she wouldn't let him. And even if he tried, part of him feared what would happen if the bond really was real. She looked up again, her eyes soft now, almost sad. Why are humans so afraid? She asked. He blinked. Because we want to survive. Survive, she repeated as if tasting the word. Yes, that is why I stay with you. Her voice was calm, but her words carried weight he didn't understand. He stood suddenly, unable to sit still. No, you're not staying. Tomorrow I'll find someone to take you. I'll break this, whatever it is. Bond, contract, curse, I don't care. It's over. Her eyes darkened. Not with anger, not with fear, but with certainty. You cannot, she said simply. If you leave me, you die. The words dropped like stone into his chest. The lights flickered again. This time they didn't come back right away. The ship was silent, swallowed by darkness, and in that silence her voice whispered through the dark. Sleep now. Tomorrow you will see. You cannot escape me. The man sat frozen, staring into the dark, her glowing eyes the only light left, in the ship. And for the first time he wondered, not if she was his slave, but if he was hers. The ship drifted through the silent dark of space. Stars burned like distant fires, but inside the freighter it was quiet. Too quiet. The man had barely slept. Every time he closed his eyes, he felt her presence, not just near him, but inside him like a pulse that wasn't his own. He found her sitting in the cargo bay, chains still on her wrists, though she wore them like bracelets now. She sat perfectly still, her eyes closed, as if she were meditating. A faint silver glow surrounded her, soft but steady, like moonlight that breathed. He cleared his throat. What are you doing? Her eyes opened slowly, fixing on him. Listening, she said. Listening to what? She tilted her head almost like a bird. To you. He frowned. I wasn't talking. Her lips curved slightly. You don't need to. A cold chill ran through him. He stepped back, shaking his head. No. Whatever this is, you stay out of my mind. I cannot, she replied softly. The bond has no walls. I feel what you feel. I hear the rhythm of your blood. His stomach tightened. That's not natural. Her voice was calm. It is not natural. It is survival. For a moment, silence hung heavy between them. He could almost believe her voice wasn't dangerous, until he remembered the whispers at the market, the fear, in the crowd, the hunters who had muttered about the runaway weapon. He forced himself to stand taller. Listen, I'm not your master or whatever you think this is. You're free to go. As soon as we dock somewhere safe, you're leaving. Her smile vanished. Her glowing eyes darkened like storms. You still don't understand. She rose slowly, fluid and graceful, until she was standing close enough for him to feel the heat of her skin. Her voice was low, steady. If you cast me away, the bond tears apart. If it tears apart, you die. And so do I. The man froze, his throat dry. He wanted to argue, but the way she said it, without drama, without fear, made him believe it. Her Hand lifted slowly, hovering near his chest again as if drawn by some invisible thread. He stepped back quickly and she lowered it, watching him carefully. "You fear me," she said softly. "Yes," he answered, sharper than he intended. Her head tilted again, curious. "But fear is not hate. Fear means you wish to live." Her words unsettled him more than anger would have. He turned away, muttering, "Stay here. Don't follow me." But of course, she followed. In the galley, he sat with another ration pack, though he barely tasted it. She stood by the wall, silent, watching. Finally, he snapped, "Stop staring at me." Her expression didn't change. "You are my center now. If I lose sight of you, the bond grows weak. I must stay close." The man pressed his hands to his face. He felt trapped, caged in his own ship. "You think this is normal?" he asked bitterly. "No," she said. "It is not normal. It is necessary." He looked up, meeting her glowing eyes. For a moment, neither spoke. Then she surprised him. She asked in a quiet voice, "Do humans have names?" The question caught him off guard. "Of course we do. Everyone has a name." She lowered her gaze. "I was not given one. I was only called property." His chest tightened. Despite his fear, he felt a flicker of pity. She looked less like a monster now and more like something broken, something stolen. He sighed. "Then choose one. For yourself." Her eyes widened slightly as if the idea had never been offered before. Slowly she whispered, "Name means freedom?" He nodded. "Yes. A name means you belong to yourself." For the first time, her smile looked real. Small, fragile, but real. She whispered something in her own tongue, strange, melodic, unearthly. Then she looked back at him. "That is my name now. You may call me Lyra." The man repeated it softly. Lyra. The name tasted unfamiliar, but somehow it fit her. Her eyes glowed warmer. "Yes. You are the first to say it." Something shifted in the air. The bond between them felt heavier now, but not as sharp. More like a thread, pulling but not strangling. Hours later, he tried again to repair his ship's failing systems. Lyra stood beside him, watching every movement. "This isn't how I wanted my life," he muttered. "I just wanted to fly, make a living, stay out of trouble." "And yet," she said softly, "trouble found you." The lights flickered again. Tools buzzed with strange energy. The ship's broken panel suddenly sealed itself, metal bending. Like clay. He dropped his wrench, staring. "Did you do that?" Lyra's expression stayed calm. "I only helped. I want your vessel strong. If it dies, we die." Her words sent another shiver through him. Not because she saved his ship, but because of the way she said we. The man realized with dread that she truly believed it. Whatever this bond was, she didn't see herself as his prisoner. She saw him as hers, and worse. Some small, hidden part of him was beginning to believe it too. That night, as he sat alone in his quarters, he felt it again. Her presence. Not outside the door, but inside his mind. A whisper, faint but clear, brushed through his thoughts. "You are not alone anymore." His chest tightened. He wanted to scream at her to stay out, but his voice caught in his throat. The bond pulsed in rhythm, with his heart heavy, inescapable, and deep in the silence he knew something terrifying. This was only the beginning. The freighter floated through deep space, quiet and cold. For a moment the man thought maybe things would calm down. Maybe he could adjust. Maybe he could even find a way to break this strange bond. But peace didn't last long in his world. The warning alarm cut through the silence. A shrill, sharp cry. His hands flew to the controls. Red lights flashed across the console, proximity alert. Something was following. He cursed under his breath. He hadn't shared his route with anyone. No one should even know he was here. The radar showed 3 signals. Small ships moving fast, closing in from behind. Hunters. He knew the type. Pirates, bounty men, black market trackers, vultures that smelled weakness. And now they had found him. He felt her before he saw her. Lyra entered the cockpit, silent as always, but her presence pressed against him like heat, her glowing eyes fixed on the screen. "They are here," she whispered. "You know them?" he asked quickly. Her gaze stayed steady. "They are not after you." His stomach dropped. "Then who?" Her silence was answer enough. The ships outside drew closer. A transmission crackled through, voices rough and cold. "Freighter. Power down. Hand over the girl. Do this, and you live." The man's heart pounded. His mouth went dry. His fingers hovered over the comm, but he couldn't speak. Lyra leaned forward, her voice low but calm. "They will not let you live. Even if you give me to them, they will burn this ship to ash." He stared at her. She said it so plainly, as if she had already seen it happen. The hunters hailed again, their voices sharp. "Last chance, human, surrender the weapon." Weapon. The word hit like ice. He turned to her, his voice barely steady. "What are you?" Her eyes didn't flinch. "What you fear. What they fear." The console shook as the first blast hit the shields. Sparks leapt from the panels. The freighter groaned like an old beast in pain. The man gritted his teeth, his hands flying over the controls. "Hold on!" He dove the ship hard, engines roaring. The freighter wasn't built for speed, but desperation gave him focus. He twisted between debris, dodging fire, but the hunters stayed close. Another blast rocked the ship. Warning lights screamed. "They'll tear us apart," he shouted. Lyra stood behind him, her chains clinking as she raised her hands. Her voice was calm, almost too calm. "I will protect you." The lights in the cockpit flickered, then dimmed. The hum of the engines shifted deeper, stronger. He felt the ship change under his hands. Controls that once dragged now responded sharp and fast. The freighter leapt forward like a predator unleashed. "What did you do?" he gasped. Her eyes glowed brighter. "I gave it strength. My strength." The hunters fired again, but this time the shields held like steel. Energy rippled over the hull, shimmering silver for a moment before fading. The man flew hard, weaving through asteroid fragments. His ship moved like it had never moved before. Faster, sharper, almost alive. But the hunters did not give up. They pressed close, their weapons spitting fire. Lyra's voice filled the cockpit, calm but edged with something darker. "They want me alive, they want you dead, I will not allow it." Her chains rattled as she spread her hands wider. The air grew heavy, humming with power. The screens flared white, then cleared, just in time for the man to see one of the hunter ships slam into an asteroid, torn apart in an instant. His stomach lurched. Did you just—" "I defended us," she said simply. But there was no simplicity in the way her glow spread, silver and sharp, filling the cockpit like a storm. For a heartbeat, he thought he saw something else in her shape, something larger, something monstrous hiding beneath her human form. The second hunter ship spun wide, damaged but not destroyed. The third stayed locked on their tail, charging, weapons again. The man's hands gripped the controls, sweat on his skin. "If you can destroy them, then do it. End this." She turned her gaze to him and her glow dimmed slightly. "If I unleash all that I am, you will fear me more than they do." Her voice trembled, just once. For the first time he heard something human in it. The third ship fired. The blast lit the cockpit. The freighter shook violently. Alarms wailed. He gritted his teeth, shouting over the noise. "Then we both die." Her eyes locked on his. The bond between them pulsed, sharp and painful, like a second heartbeat. And then she moved. Her voice rang through the cockpit, low and fierce. "No! We live!" The glow exploded from her body, rushing through the ship, through the shields, through the space around them. For a moment, everything outside turned silver white. When it cleared, Only silence remained. The radar was empty. The hunters were gone. The man stared at the screen, his breath shaking. Slowly he turned toward her. She stood tall, her glow fading, her chains burned black from the energy. Her eyes were heavy now, tired, but still locked on him. "You see?" she whispered. "With me, you cannot die." His chest tightened. Not with relief, not with gratitude, but with fear. Because now he understood. If the hunters were willing to risk everything to get her back, then she wasn't just dangerous. She was unstoppable. And she was his, whether he wanted her or not. The freighter limped through dark space, its hull scarred, its systems flickering. The battle was over, but the silence that followed felt heavier than the fight itself. The man sat in the cockpit, hands tight on the controls. His ship groaned, like an old beast pushed too far. Panels sparked, warnings glowed, and every breath felt like waiting for the next alarm. Behind him, Lyra stood silent, her silver glow faint now, like a candle burning low. She looked weaker, her skin pale, her eyes dimmer. But even drained, she still radiated danger. "They won't stop," she whispered. He turned sharply. "What do you mean?" "We destroyed them." Her head moved slowly side to side. "Destroyed, too. The rest will come. They always come." The words made his chest tighten. If the hunters had more ships, and he believed her now, then this was only the beginning. He leaned back in his chair, rubbing his face. "So what are we supposed to do? Just run forever?" Her eyes fixed on him, steady, but unreadable. "Yes." The answer chilled him more than any threat. Hours turned into a restless day. The man worked to repair what he could, but the freighter was slow, scarred, and loud. It wasn't built to outrun hunters. He tried to rest in his quarters, but every time his eyes closed, he felt her. Not just outside the door, but inside his thoughts, brushing against his mind like cold fingers. Sometimes it was only whispers. "Don't be afraid." Other times it was heavier, almost like his own thoughts weren't fully his anymore. He woke suddenly from a half-sleep, sweat on his skin. The ship was too quiet. He stumbled to the cockpit and froze. Lyra was sitting in the pilot's seat, her hands on the controls. The panels glowed brighter under her touch, almost alive. "What are you doing?" he demanded. She didn't turn. "Keeping us hidden. You don't fly my ship," he snapped. At that, she turned her head, her glowing eyes calm but sharp. "Your ship listens to me more than it listens to you. If I let go, they will find us faster." Her words struck deep. He hated them, but he couldn't deny what he saw. His ship was flying smoother than it ever had, systems running clean, no alarms screaming. Still, he stepped forward, pulling her away from the chair. "You don't decide, I do, understand?" For the first time, her gaze faltered. Not with fear, never fear, but with something softer, almost confusion. "Why?" she asked. "Because it's my life," he growled. "My choice, not yours." Her eyes lingered on him, searching his face. Then she nodded, slow and quiet. "Then choose well. Because if you fail, we both die." Later, as he plotted a course through an asteroid belt, the alarm screamed again. 3 new signals. Fast. Closing. And his chest went tight. His hands shook. Not again. The hunters were faster this time. Sleeker ships armed heavy. They swarmed like wolves circling prey. He pushed the freighter into the belt, weaving between spinning rock and shadow. The ship groaned, scraping against stone, but he held tight, teeth clenched. Blasts fired past, explosions lighting the black. Asteroids shattered, fragments spinning like knives. "Too slow," Lyra whispered from behind him. "Then make us faster," he shouted. Her glow flared bright again. The ship surged forward, engines screaming. They darted through the maze of rock like a predator reborn. Still, the hunters pressed close. One scraped along their side, firing until its guns overheated. Another circled ahead, cutting off escape. The man's heart pounded. "We can't keep this up." "Yes," Lyra said softly, her voice sharp with certainty. We can. Her hands pressed to the wall. The whole ship vibrated with her power. For a moment, the freighter wasn't just metal and wires. It felt alive. The radar showed one hunter moving too close, cutting a path directly in their trail. Lyra's eyes flared. Silver, the asteroid beside it, shifted, moved, slammed into the ship with crushing force. The hunter ship burst apart in silence, debris scattering like sparks. The man's stomach dropped. That wasn't flying. That was survival, she whispered. But he saw the way her body swayed after. Each burst of power drained her. Her glow flickered, faint and thin. She was burning herself out. Another hunter closed in. The man pulled hard on the controls, barely dodging its fire. The ship rattled. A panel burst, sparks showering his hands. Lyra staggered forward, gripping the back of his chair. Keep going, she whispered, voice weak now. Don't stop. The hunters pressed harder. The chase stretched into endless minutes. His arms ached, his lungs burned, his head screamed. He wasn't sure if he was steering the ship, or if the ship was steering him through her, and then suddenly silence again. The radar cleared. The hunters were gone. The man slumped back in his chair, sweat dripping down his face. His hands shook on the controls. He turned slowly to Lyra. She leaned against the wall, her glow faint, her eyes heavy, but her lips curved in the smallest of smiles. You see, she whispered. With me, you always survive. He wanted to shout at her, to demand answers, to break free, but his voice caught in his throat, because part of him knew the truth. Now, the hunters weren't chasing him, they were chasing her, and as long as she stayed with him, they always would. The ship drifted through silent space once more. The engines whispered, tired but alive. In the cockpit, the man sat slumped in his chair, eyes fixed on the endless black. His hands trembled, his body ached. He had survived again, but survival felt less like victory and more like a chain tightening around his neck. Behind him, Lyra sat quietly, her glow faint but steady. Her silver light no longer filled the room like fire. Now it clung to her like fragile moonlight. She looked drained. Her chains darkened, her voice soft when she finally spoke. You wish to know the truth. The man turned slowly. His jaw clenched. Yes. No more riddles. No more whispers. Tell me what you are. For a long moment, she only stared. Her glowing eyes seemed endless, deep pools of secrets. Then, at last, she rose. Her movements were slow, graceful even in weakness. She stepped close, so close he felt the heat of her presence again. I was not born, she said. I was made. His chest tightened. Made? By who? Her lips curled, not in a smile but in something sadder. By those who fear war and yet prepare for it. By those who see life as a weapon, not a soul. I was shaped to bond with another, a chosen master, to shield them, to fight for them, to kill for them, until their last breath, or mine. Yo, words sank heavy into him. He shook his head slowly. So you're some kind of experiment? She tilted her head. Not experiment. Design, a tool of survival. They built me to obey. And now you're mine? His voice cracked with bitter disbelief. Her eyes softened, glowing dimmer. Not yours, not theirs. Ours. The bond is not control. It is joining. Once touched, once sealed, neither can break, free. You die, I die. I die, you die. His breath caught. That's impossible. Impossible, she echoed, her voice carrying a strange weight. And yet here we are. He stumbled back, pressing his hand against the wall as if he could push away the truth. I never wanted this. I never asked for this. Her voice was quiet, almost gentle. Neither did I. That answer struck deeper than any threat. He stared at her, trying to read her face. She wasn't lying. For all her power, for all her strange certainty, He saw it now. She was trapped too, but trapped with him. He turned back to the console, trying to focus on repairs, anything to keep his mind from breaking. But the questions pressed harder. What happens if I leave you? He asked suddenly, his voice sharp. She didn't hesitate. You die. His chest tightened. And if you leave me? Her gaze lowered. Then I die. But they will not let me leave. They will take me back. They will unmake me. Unmake, he whispered. The word felt colder than death. She nodded slowly. I was never meant to be sold. Someone stole me from the makers. The black market thought they could profit. But when you touched me, the bond chose. Now they will chase you until they have me again. And if they cannot, they will destroy you both. The man's breath shook. He pressed his hand over his face, his voice breaking. So I'm not just unlucky. I'm doomed. Lyra stepped closer, her voice steady. Not doomed, changed. You are no longer alone. You cannot run from me and I cannot run from you. Her hand lifted, reaching for his chest again. He flinched, but she stopped just short, fingers trembling. You feel it too, she whispered. The bond, the second heartbeat. It is inside you now. His own heart thundered in his ears, and beneath it, faint but real, he felt another pulse, not his own. Hers. He staggered back, choking out. This isn't living. This is prison. Her face darkened, shadows flickering in her glow. Prison, she repeated softly. Then her eyes narrowed. Perhaps. But it is a prison we share. And together, we are stronger than chains. For hours, silence filled the ship. He sat in the cockpit, staring at the stars. She remained nearby, always near, always watching. At last, he broke the quiet. What are you really, Lyra? Weapon, servant, prisoner, which one is true? Her answer came like a blade, soft but sharp. All of them. And none. I was built to be a slave. But now, I choose to be something else. He frowned. And what's that? Her glowing eyes locked on him, fierce and steady despite her weakness. Yours. The word shook him more than gunfire. His breath caught, his throat dry. He turned away quickly, unable to meet her gaze. She stepped closer, her voice low. Hate me, fear me, curse me. It does not matter. The bond is real. You will not leave me, and I will not let you go. The man clenched his fists, anger and fear colliding in his chest. He wanted to scream, to fight, to throw her off his ship. But deep inside, the second heartbeat pulsed with his own. And he knew the terrible truth. Even if he could escape her chains, he would never escape her. The freighter drifted in the shadows of a dying star. The light was faint, red and sickly, casting long shadows through the cockpit. The man sat forward, eyes locked on the radar. The screen glowed with too many signals, not 3 ships, not 5. A fleet. Hunters had found them again. His chest tightened, his hands shook on the controls. He knew the truth now. Running was useless. They would never stop. Not until they had her. Behind him, Lyra stood still, her silver glow faint but steady. She seemed calm, but her eyes burned like fire hidden under ice. They are many, she said quietly. Too many for this vessel. He turned sharply. Then, what do we do? You can't fight them all. You'll burn yourself out. Her voice was low, steady. I was made for this. His throat tightened. And what about me? Her gaze softened, but her words were sharp. If I die, you die. If you die, I die. We are one chain. There is no path where you live without me. The words crushed him. He slammed his hand against the console, rage spilling out. I never asked for this. Her eyes glowed brighter. Her voice edged. Neither did I. But the bond does not ask. It only takes. The radar lit up as the hunters spread out, circling the freighter like wolves around a wounded prey. Red warning lights filled the cockpit. The man's heart pounded. We can't win. Lyra stepped forward, her chains rattling. No, but we can make them fear. The first barrage struck. The freighter shook violently, panels sparking, systems screamed. The man gripped the controls, teeth clenched, shields failing. Let them fail, Lyra whispered. She stepped closer, her hands pressing against the wall. Her glow flared brighter than before, filling the cockpit with blinding silver light. The ship trembled, not with damage, but with power. The hunters fired again, but the blast dissolved against the glow, fading into nothing. The man stared, eyes wide. You're becoming the shield. Her voice shook, soft but fierce. Yes, I am the shield, and the sword. Outside, the hunters pressed in, firing together. The glow held, but each strike made her body tremble. Her skin flickered, her chains burned black. The man leapt from his chair, grabbing her shoulders. Stop, you'll kill yourself. Her eyes met his, glowing so bright they hurt to look at. If I fall, you fall. If you fall, I fall. That is truth. So I will not fall. The radar screamed, one of the hunters breaking formation, moving in close. Lyra's eyes snapped shut. The glow surged, exploding outward in a wave of light. The hunter ship shattered, torn apart like glass under a hammer. The man stumbled back, blinded by the flash. Gods! Lyra staggered, weak, her glow dimming. But she didn't stop. The fleet pressed harder. Blasts filled the void. The freighter shook like it would tear apart. The man's breath came fast, panic rising. We can't win! There are too many! Lyra's voice was faint, almost breaking. Then make a choice. He froze. What choice? Her eyes opened, again, dim but fierce. Give me to them. Break the bond, they will take me and you will live, or fight with me and maybe die. The words cut deep. He stared at her, his throat dry. For a heartbeat he imagined it, giving her up, ending this nightmare, flying free again. But deep inside, under the fear, the second heartbeat pulsed. Hers, his, together. He realized the truth. There was no free. Not anymore. He clenched his fists, teeth grinding. I'm not giving you to them. Lyra's eyes widened slightly, her lips curved in the faintest smile. Then we fight. The hunters swarmed. The freighter dove hard, engines screaming. The man gripped the controls, weaving through fire and shadow. Lyra stood behind him, her glow raging, filling the ship like a storm. Together they moved as one. His hands and her power, his will and her strength. Ships burst in flashes of light. Blasts bent away from their hull. The freighter, once slow and broken, flew like a beast unleashed. But the hunters were endless. For every one destroyed, two more closed in. The man's chest burned. Sweat ran down his face. He shouted through the chaos, "We can't hold forever." Lyra's voice filled. The cockpit, strong now, alive with fire. Then we hold until they break. The battle raged. Endless minutes stretched like years. The freighter danced through death. Silver light and fire mixing in the dark. And then suddenly, silence. The hunters stopped. What remained of the fleet pulled back, forming a wide circle at a distance. The man frowned. Why aren't they firing? Lyra's glow dimmed slowly, her eyes narrowed. Because they are afraid. The comm crackled. A hunter's voice hissed through, sharp and shaken. The forbidden pair. It lives again. The channel cut. The hunters turned, vanishing into the black, fleeing like wolves beaten back by fire. The man sat frozen, breathless. He looked at Lyra. Her glow was faint now, her body trembling, but her eyes burned steady. He whispered, "What did they mean?" Forbidden pair. Her lips curved, a shadow of a smile. Long ago there was another like me. She bonded. She fought, and she burned the galaxy to ash. The man's blood ran cold. And now they think we're the same? Her eyes locked on his. sharp and certain. They don't think. They know. The cockpit fell silent. The freighter floated in empty space, scarred but alive. The man sat back, his heart pounding. He had survived. Again. But he knew now, with a weight he couldn't escape. He hadn't bought a slave. He hadn't even bought a weapon. He had awakened a storm, and storms never let go.